And good evening, everybody. Hello, CamZX Legendary. Good to see you. Welcome. I have the chat on the second monitor, and I'm going to be deving on this main one here. When it wants to open, this evening, I'm going to be doing this horrendous task, which is probably an absolutely terrible idea. But there we go. You live and learn. My goodness, Unity is taking its time this evening. I can hear the hard disks churning away. How is everyone this evening? It's a Saturday night. I guarantee that you probably have better things to do than this. But there we go. Thank you. I'm glad you think this is achievable. I'm going to be doing quite a lot of different things to make this happen, and I'm only still waiting for Unity to open, which is very nice. As we can see here, I'm using the GitHub projects. This is where I keep all of my code, and I also keep everything in here so that I can link together the code and the actual tasks I did. Yeah, I'm doing okay today. I'm a little bit tired because I've been playing with a 5-year-old for a great portion of today, and 5-year-olds are energetic. They've got a lot more energy than I do, which is, yeah, not as much given I'm old. And how are you doing today? You're doing great. That's fantastic. Yeah, well, it's Saturday. There's so much you can achieve on a Saturday. Still going. 2 minutes. Come on, Unity. You're better than this. I do wonder whether my machine is now struggling with streaming and loading Unity. Ah, Cyber Habanero. Hi-ho to you too, sir. Lovely to see you. I'm just getting everything warmed up here for a moment. I managed to hit go live a little bit before I was expecting, but then, you know, these things happen. It's not a problem. I've got a brand new coming soon screen, and no doubt I'll be using my I'll be right back screen, because my 5-year-old daughter is bound to do some kind of pitch invasion this evening because she's on one. I'm not entirely sure what Unity thinks it's importing. Perhaps it's the entirety of the internet, which would be interesting. It's not normally this slow. There we go. At least it's telling me it's busy. That's more than many things do. And you get to see me narrate a status bar. Yes, you can see how the green line is moving. Oh, here we go. Now it's importing assets. I don't have many assets. I have a handful. We're still churning. 3 minutes. Lovely. So what are people up to this weekend? Is anyone seeing family? Going out and about? Having dinner? Doing things that are interesting? Let me know in the chat. Tell me what you're up to. It's bound to be more interesting than the stuff I'm up to. Ah, that's right, Cyberhanyo. Not many people's English is particularly good, particularly in the UK. You'll find levels of English to be mixed. Here we are. We're inside Unity, and I don't need the Light Explorer today because I was fixing a bug. So this is where we're going to be spending most of our evening. I'm going to get Visual Studio up and running now, and I find the best way of doing that is finding a file that I'm most interested in this case it's proxy, and then just jumping straight into that one. Now, the job for this evening is best to explain with a bit of a demonstration. Ah, you're working on a horror game, Nicholas. That's pretty cool. Is it first person? Is it third person? Horror games, they scare the life out of me. I'm not. I'm a coward when it comes to those. Right, I have a whole bunch open there. We don't need any of that. So let me explain the problem that I'm going to be trying to solve this evening. And it's all to do with a difficulty when you have any kind of procedurally generated environment. So let's select the Clomper, and we have here our beautiful procedurally generated environment, the hellscape. And there's a bit of a side effect of this hellscape in that there are certain areas of this map that you can't actually get to. So if we zoom in down here, I'll just make this a bit larger. You can see this bit here, you can't possibly get to that bit because you can't go over the top of this hill, you can't go over the top of this hill. And yes, I know ladybirds, they can climb up hills. Ah, Kumakami, good to see you. But if I were to put something in the middle here, you wouldn't be able to get to it. There's no way for you to get to this particular piece. Now, that's not a problem. If the players were just clomping around, they'd find their own way. They'd probably go up and down this ramp here, which looks like fun. But I have these quest items at the moment. There's a drop-off point, and there's the quest item that needs to be picked up. Those are the same ones that I've had right from the start. Now I need to put those in the environment randomly, and if I were to put one in the middle of this gap here, then it would not be reachable, which is, yeah, not great. So I need to find a way to say, what about this square? I want a square that's not right next to the clomper. It should be out of range. Should be outside the white circle, which is how far the map goes. So it needs to be outside this white circle here, and it needs to be somewhere flat, and it needs to be reachable. So that one there, if it put it in the middle of there somewhere, that would be perfect. But I can't just randomly select stuff because you might end up with something like this. Are there any other examples of this? No, that one's not too bad, but yes, it does like doing this, having a crevasse on both sides and then a hill blocking in the middle. This side here, the green is the biome for hills, so that's normally it's quite difficult to navigate. You have to concentrate, but it's not too difficult. But this is black, is a crevasse biome, and they can be really hard. Really very hard. So how to put this, we've got to plop this little piece down here. We've got to put this somewhere which is achievable, and that is what I'm going to be working on. So let's look at some chat here. Nicholas, you're working on a horror game, first person chapter based. First person, wow, that's, well, fair play to you. And chapter based is pretty hard. Have you written the ending first, or are you going to work out that as you go along? That's always what I wondered about chapter games. Do they figure out what the ending is so they know where they're going, or do they kind of work it out as they go? And who else we got going? And how's the frame rate? The frame rate is currently around 70, 80, but that's on a poorer machine, not this one. This machine I've upgraded recently. It's quite new, so it's a Ryzen 5600X, so it's got lots of oomph, and it's got a fat graphics card in it, so yeah, it's not ideal. So to build this, what we're going to do is we're going to first of all use raycasting to find somewhere that's flat, and then we're going to use A-star pathfinding to work its way. We're going to pick a place, say here, and then we're going to use pathfinding to trace a route to try and get back to the clomper. And if you can't get back to the clomper, it's not in a valid position. So for example, if we found up here, this flat bit up here, and it tried to trace back to the clomper, it can't do that without going off a wall, so it won't get back. But we're not going to use this scene to do that, which is probably an error, but we're going to I'll see if that is. We're going to use my environment builder scene, which is a new scene that I've put together recently that allows me to build up all of the different environment tiles. So I'm just going to build these in here now. It's slightly faffy. I'm going to let the world generate. So here we go, it's generated an example world, and we're going to use this example world to try and build some code that will allow us to pick a point to start with and then work our way back. So we're going to be using A-star, and A-star works with kind of a notional grid. So let's wang some code in. I might get halfway through this and decide that this is far too complicated for a stream and just move on to something else. There's some other bits and pieces that we could be doing this evening. So the very first thing we need is some code. We're going to need a file somehow. We're going to probably need some raycasts, and we're going to need some kind of manager. So let's deal with that first. we're going to stick it straight into this scene to start with. I can always refactor that later. So first of all, we're going to call this. We're going to call it. It's kind of, what does it do? What does it do is a good question. It's a quest location finder. A case for Markov chains. Yes, Habanero. It is indeed a case for Markov chains. And Matt, Mr. Bull, it's lovely to see you in my chat. How are you? I hope university is treating you with the respect you deserve. And Nicholas, an 8-hour stream. I'm aiming for an hour or so. 8-hour stream. Oh my goodness. There would be a pitch invasion within 8 hours. I can guarantee that. Right, so we're going to start off with, it's going to be kind of a quest finder is the job that it does. I don't like phrases such as manager or helper. Any time you see that would suggest that you've not thought about it very well. There's a couple of exceptions, but generally speaking, if you find yourself going that way, you've gone wrong. Now, where to put the actual code? So I group my code together. I'm not sure how easy this is to see on the stream because it's all very small. But over here on the right hand side, I've got my project and I group things together by domain entity, which rather than putting all your scripts together and putting all your objects together and all your sounds together and all your by type, I group them by what they do. And the reason for that is it gets a lot easier as your project grows. You can see all the things that belong together in one place. So for example, if I pop into this pipes folder, you've got, of course, pipes, quite a big deal in the game. You've got that is a texture for the icon. You've got the actual model. You've got some sounds. You've got some code in there, more models. You've got everything but the actual prefabs, which for reasons of Unity need to go in the resources folder, which upsets me. But that's how I group things together. I find it's a lot easier to maintain huge number of files, which is where I'm heading to at the moment. And who else? Let's check out the stream. So Fabiano, hello. Matt, uni is going great, thanks. I'm expecting you to do a 24-hour stream one day. You're all setting me up for a fall. Thank you. Pandraman, hello, and hello to you. Plasma, you always name yours maid or module. Okay, if it works for you. Akuma, 24 hours so we watch him sleep. Oh, well, assuming I sleep. I like to think of myself more of a Chuck Norris character. I don't sleep, I wait. So, Quest Finder needs some code, and we'll wang a script. Now, it's to do with quests, so we'll stick it in the questing bit. It's not actually to do with the quests themselves. It's not to do with a tube. It's probably going to replace the factory there. So let's add a new script in here. This is so clunky, I hate this. And we're going to call this Quest Finder as well. Of course, in Unity, you don't have to name the scripts the same as the object. But for this, I think, oh, it can't be found. It's still making it. Come on, Unity. You're better than this. Go faster. There we go. Quest Finder. There we go. Then we can pop in here. And we're going to have some code in here. It's not going to be a mono behavior because we don't need it to have velocity or interactivity. It's going to have access to some raycasts, probably. Now, for the sake of testing, it's very important to be able to test things very quickly. I like to be able to turn things around. So I have up here this Clomper debug window at the top is got lots of buttons what I have created myself, like governor. These lovely buttons here allow me to do things quickly, like I can show biomes. I can create them first, that might help, and then show some example biomes in there. It's not using them. We can reset that. We can generate a new world. Oh, which has died. Interesting. Oh, I wonder why that's died. So let's try loading these up. Clone rotate again. Wave function collapse. Whee, there we go. So I can load a new world. And load a new world again. So I'm going to do it twice this time. Lovely. That's interesting. That might be a bug in there. Neighbor not found. Would suggest it lost its ability after the reload. I hope not. That would be annoying. Oh, anyway, we'll come back to that. So I'm going to want to stick a button in here which will allow me to trigger the quest location finder. Quest location finder is a better name, isn't it? Ah, see, there you go. You always think of things after. Quest location finder, because that's what it does. No, it doesn't find a quest, it finds the location of the quest. Ah, there we go. That's not going to rename the class in the file, is it? Because Unity. Oh dear. Beautiful. Oh, it's lost my namespace as well, which is annoying. Oh, and I can't. Oh, in modern C#, everybody, you can do that. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, at work, we're all about that. Reduced nesting. It will come to Unity eventually, but that's C# 9, is it? So, hello, who else we got going on there? Matt, Kumakami, he can just hook himself up to a coffee machine. Oh man, that's... Yeah, I bet you both can see that happening. Plasma, do you have any advice for people like me who lose motivation on projects? Oh, Plasma, that's a big question. I have a script. But yes, in short, I have a script for a video that I'm yet to make, and it deals largely with that topic. 4 things to give you a breakdown. This is off topic. Let's make this a bit more interesting to look at while I talk about this. First of all, you need to have meaning. You need to understand why you want to make a game. You need to understand why you're doing it. It's not good enough just to say, I want to be a game dev. You've got to keep breaking that down. You've got to say, well, why do you want to be a game dev? Say, well, I like making games. But why do you like making games? Well, I like watching other people play them. Why do you like watching other people play them? And you keep drilling down as you really understand why it is you're doing it. Are you doing it? I want to be employed as a game dev. Okay, so why do you want to be employed? Because they make money. Yes, but do they make good money? Is it money that you're going for, really? Because if you're really going for money, then become an enterprise dev, because you will make more. So this is the kind of, get your meaning, first thing. Second thing, measurable goals. Put down your goals. So for example, for Clomper, I want to make a game that I can run on Steam, play with my friends, that they find fun, and that earns a certain amount of money over a certain period of time. I've not quite decided what that's going to be yet, but it will be an amount of money. But I have goals set that are clear. Try and put deadlines in if you can. I'm not in control of my own time, my family is, so I can't really put in meaningful deadlines. But I keep the scope low, so I'm used to doing that. It's not a problem. Third thing, get organised. Make sure you have your tools and you keep track of all your tasks. When you sit down to do something of an evening, make sure that you can start straight away. Don't sit there and think, oh goodness, what do I do now? Don't do that. Get ready going. That means at the end of this one session, you set up for the next. And then there's loads more in getting organised. And the last one is discipline. And discipline is really habits. So set up good habits and try and get rid of bad habits. And that often means taking a long, hard look at yourself and going, yeah, don't do that. That's stupid. However, those are the 4 things. There's probably an hour's worth of video. I will get it made because I get asked a lot. And I seem to be quite good at motivation. So what else we got going on in the chat? Yeah, the new namespaces, Matt, are lovely because I hate nesting myself. And Monkey Squad, yes, it's coming. It's coming. Namespaces are coming, but we don't know when. Okay, so we're looking for a location. So we want to be able to trigger this somehow. So let's just stick a execute function in, and we'll just send something out to the log for the moment. This is a little small, I should imagine. Let's make that big. Oh, how big is too big? Is this too big? I don't know. What does that even look like on the stream? Is that far too big? I can wait for the stream to catch up. That's quite large. That looks like the kind of text that someone who's not wearing their glasses can see. Right, so we're going to debug log, and we're just going to write execute request location finder. Lovely. Oh, be nice if I could spell correctly. I apologise if you hear any background noise. My 5-year-old, she just will not ever go to bed. So that's the first half. So we got this is quite facile so far, and you go, well, this is not remotely clever. What are you doing? Next thing we need to do is stick a button, and we have an editor called a Clomper debug editor. If we just reduce that as Control MO, and it will collapse all of the leaves of your code. So What else we got going on in the chat? I'm really good with prototyping. Thank you, Monkey Squad. That's very nice. I've done a lot of prototyping. I think you get better with practice. And for those who have watched for a long time, you'll realise that the pot, rest in peace, didn't make it. Monkey Squad, always get carried away after lots of months. I want my game to look good, so I waste time on game feel and rendering with the core loop not working. Oh, Monkey Squad, that's a trap that lots of apps, both games and business apps, fall into. They look pretty, they don't necessarily work. And where am I from? I am from originally London, but I'm living just to the west of London, just beyond the Slough Badlands. So this is the main on GUI, and what all this particular method does is it works out whether the main scene, that's the Clomper ones running around, or whether we're in the environment builder. And we're inside the environment builder, so it's actually the environment builder in here. We want to stick a new thing on the bottom. Oh, commented out code. Naughty. What on earth is this all in here? This is dirty. Oh, filthy. Filthy. Well, let's kill that. Let's add everything just for the moment. That's a little bit of Git command line. I can't believe I left that in there. That's embarrassing. Okay, so we're just going to stick a quest location finder to, and we'll probably go yeah, and that's going to be a method. Oh, hang on a minute. Probably want to call it that actually. I spend most of my life renaming things. Really do. Oh, you're in Berlin, Cyberhammer. That's fascinating. A lovely place. I can't say I've ever been to Berlin. I've visited Germany a few times on holidays, sitting in the back seat of a car. But I don't think we ever went to Berlin. I think it probably would have been in the 80s when I visited Berlin. So, if visited Germany, 80s? Yeah, probably. I was a wee lad. So, the quest finder. Okay, so I have these tools up here. Prefab tool, that just makes life a bit easier. What am I doing in here? Am I setting up the buttons? Oh no, those are the methods. Ah, so I'm just proxying there. Okay, that's fine. We can do some work in here. So we want a button. We just want a button. I can't remember how to make buttons, so I'm going to steal one out of here. So if GUI layout button, then we're going to have access to that. Okay, so there we do. We need the quest finder, quest location. Oh dear, I'm going to be saying that quite a lot. And then execute. Execute. Let me tell it's late. Lovely. So we're going to need a tool in here. Where's the tool coming in? We're grabbing them here, are we? Fine, it's injection. This is a form of injection. By doing this, you can't really use classes when you're writing the editor like you normally would do. I prefer to have these all in a kind of an awake method, but that doesn't work for editor. You can't do that. So this one would be quest location finder. That's almost a drinking game now, and it's going to be the quest location finder, and then we'll pass it into there, and we'll create that, stick it into there, and I'll just call it tool for now. Oh no, we won't call it that, we'll call it that, because that'll be sensible. Super. So that's on the environment builder. Okay, that's interesting. I think I didn't put it there. This is freaking out down here now. That's not surprising. So if I pop back to the environment builder, it's looking for the quest location finder under the environment builder tool. Oh, right, okay. So it doesn't have its own object. That's okay. Oh, okay. So it can't do that because it needs to be a mono behavior. I don't want to do that. No, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to make this. I don't want to make this a mono behavior. And the reason is that mono behaviors are for a specific purpose. This, it makes me dirty. Okay, we'll do that for the moment. But I don't really want to do that. I might wind that back later. So we'll stick the quest location finder on there. We can kill this object off now because we don't need this. And we'll just delete that there. And we're back in here. So hopefully now this will give me a UI. Nice. And then these errors are slightly worrying. Oh, this is because it's compiling while I'm... when you're working with editor scripts, you're going to get loads of bugs down here because every time the UI updates, it will run your code even if you've not quite finished it. So it's not like when you run your game and then you see all the bugs pop up. It happens all the time within the editor. Cool. So where is everyone else from? Monkey Squad, also from Germany. Welcome. Guten Abend. Is that close? Possibly. Me too. I can never find the perfect variable name. Yes, Plasma. Yeah, just rename. Nicholas from Denmark. Ah, hello. Welcome. Aaron. Yes, I'm live. I'm alive, mostly. And event-driven programmer. Yes, ish. Only because I'm forced to in this. I think I like to tightly couple where things belong together, and I separate when they don't. And we do have a fully... yeah, I like to think that because I've chosen an evening time, because it's the only time I have, it means we're going to get a lot more people coming in from Europe, which is lovely. My European friends. It's fantastic. Lovely. Okay, so we should be good now. We should have a button on here. That's called create. That's a bit unfortunate. I think that's our new one. So let's pop back into this. Yes, there we go. And we want to call that quest finder. We're also going to give it a label field, and we're going to call it find, and this is the quest location finder. And if we pop back into the UI, it's now going to compile it. It will reload this debug tool here, and we should see right at the bottom we've got find. So if we click this button, we should see a debug log. Moment of truth. Can I code? Yes. Execrutor, which sounds almost French. I've wanged an R in there. There we go. So that's now linking up. So whatever code we stick in here, we can should work, no problem. Okay. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to do a bunch of raycasts, but also we want to be able to see what's going on. We're also going to need a center point. I hope something in here is probably the center. 200 00. Yeah, that's probably the center. Oh, there's the center. Okay, so we have our center tile here at 0 0 0. That's cool. So that's where we're going to pretend that there's a Clomper. So just imagine there's no Clomper here at the moment because we're in a special scene that allows me to work on the environment. But just pretend there's a little ladybird sitting in the middle there. Nicholas, it's 10 there for you. Yes, I imagine it would be. Yeah, you're out. You're UTC +1 in Europe, aren't you? Is it CET, Central European Time, I think it's called? Rather ridiculously, in the UK we call UTC, which is Universal Time Constant, GMT, or Greenwich Mean Time, which is named after an observatory in the centre of London. It's so vain. Right. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna have a grid of some kind of raycasts, and so that we need something to hold these raycasts in. Now, as grids go, it's probably going to need to. Now it can't match up with this grid. It can't match up with this grid. Oh look, I've got one of my new pieces in there. This is filthy, this piece. If you haven't seen this piece of map, this is a map which is a conveyor belt that leads into a chasm. So if you drive onto here accidentally, you're off the edge. They're quite rare. Oh look, there's another one over there. Oh, they're not rare at the moment because I'm on the test environment, but yes, that is a devious plan. Anyway, so I'm going to have a whole bunch of raycasts, and I need them to be in a grid that surrounds this 0 0. So, but it mustn't line up with these, and the reason for that is I need to have raycasts, more than one raycast when I'm on a ramp. So that's quite important. So I'm going to need to have a whole bunch, and that's how I'm going to make my node grid. So let's have a bunch of raycasts. How should we do this? Should we use coordinate? Okay, let's use coordinate. Dictionary of coordinates. That's probably not a good way of doing it. Let's do it anyway. So coordinate is a class that I've invented, which is hang on, what have you done there? Oh, Visual Studio's tried to be nice and make it for me. Don't do that. Hello, coordinate. No, there we go. Don't be nice. Don't be nice to me. Don't make me classes. What? Where is this? Where have you put this? We want to delete this. Open containing file. Let's just burn it. Goodbye. Oh, it's in questing. Fine. That's understandable. I already have a coordinate class. Oh, I think I might have called it coordinate 2D. But coordinate 2D is no good. Coordinate 2D is integers because it is a. So we're gonna have to use vector. No, I don't want to use vector 2. Although I'm not gonna. Yeah, okay, we'll do vector 3. Don't really like vector 3s. And we'll have array. And we're going to call that rays for the moment. That's not a very good name, but it'll be fine. Should we initialize it to something? Yes, probably, because it's a dictionary. So it's fine for it to be initialized. We're probably going to have another button to clear it out, but that's fine. So no horror game on your YouTube yet, Nicholas? Yeah, Nicholas, share early, You get great feedback from most people. I love watching this in the background of programming. Makes staring at the screen for 5 hours fun. Plasma, I get you. I like to listen to other people code as well, on occasion. Although my life has mostly been meetings more recently, lots of upfront design stuff. So I want to have a start point, which is going to be somewhere. Well, we better put in a start point. It will always be 0 for the sake of today. So we're going to. Should we call it centre? I know that's weird UK spelling for centre. We'll deal with it. Let's just make it. Let's make it vector 3 for the moment. And we'll be 0. Of course, you could just do new vector 3, but I think that this is more specific. So, and then what we want to do is we want to have a whole bunch of rays created. We want to do. So, how many do we want? We want number of rays on a side. Probably. So we're going to make a 2D grid. I don't know, 1,000 sound reasonable. So now what we can do is we can have 2 for loops. For int. Oh, hang on a minute. X equals 0. X. Oh, okay. We're going to need something else in a moment. Yeah, this is why yeah. Okay, we'll just carry on like this. If it's rubbish, we'll fix it. That's what we do. And then we go for Z. Oh, hello. Well, we'll make that an integer. And then Z's less than number of rays on the side. Okay. So that'll be 0 to 1,000. But we actually don't want it to 0 to 1,000 because we want to start negative. So, oh, that's nasty. Okay, so this is what I'm about to do is a bit nasty, but we'll roll with it for now. We can tidy it up later once it works. So what that should do is that would be minus 500, and that would be plus 500. So it'll go from minus 500 to plus 500, looping through, and we kind of want to do the same down here, but with Z. And we're gonna, and it's complaining because I'm reinitializing it. Whee! There we go. So that will give us an array of 1 million rays, which is probably quite large. Titan Lord of Pizza, lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Welcome. And well done for catching me as well. I know I give very short notice and then I come on somewhat at random. So that's going to be 1 million rays, which is quite large. We also need spacing because these are all integers. So we don't want them to be one block apart, to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We don't want that. We want them to be a little bit apart. So say 20 units. Looking back at my grid, that's 200. So if we have 10 in a grid and we have 1,000, that's 100 along there. That's probably unnecessarily large. that's probably unnecessary. 1,000's probably over the top, because if they're 20 apart, 1,000 would be 20,000 units, and I don't think it generates more than 1,000. So probably we could get away with, let's try doing 200. We're only going to draw them to start with anyway. And we're going to go debug dot, draw array. Okay, so we need a starting point, and that's going to be a vector 3. It has to be a starting point. Now we already have x and z, so that'll be x times the spacing, and then y we'll come back to. So I'm just going to write that for the moment, and then y times, and then it's going to be z times the spacing. So, oh, hello, times space. I have multiplied it by space. And then a direction will be straight down, because what we're going to do is we're going to have a ray that's up in the clouds, up in space, zooming down and drawing down. But we don't want it to be all the way up too high, because we want to be able to see it on the screen. So we'll start at 500, and we want it to be going downwards. So that's vector 3 down, and that should then draw a ray of a colour. Oh, could you pass it in? Because I know rays are different than drawing gizmos. Do we pass in a colour? You pass in a colour. Oh, what colour should we do? What do we feel like? Red's a good colour. Red, if you're gonna shine down lines from the sky, make them look like a laser. That's properly terrifying. Now this will only work. This will only happen when I hit execute. I also don't know how long they'll last for. All right, duration, 5 seconds. Is that in seconds? Duration, how long the line will be visible for in seconds. Okay. Right, let's see if we can actually get some rays coming down. Well, it executed. Right, well, okay. We've got a bunch of points. They're correctly spaced, but I wouldn't say they're long enough. They're quite short, aren't they? Are they possibly one short? I would have thought when drawing a ray, it would have drawn them all the way down. Okay, so draw ray. It goes start, direction. Okay, great. And then down. Has it got? Is it? When it says down, draws a line from the start to start plus direction. Oh, okay, so it is only one. I've just done a unit ray. Okay, so it's got to come down a little bit. Now I know that the whole lot, this is all sitting at 0. So you see y is 0, and it's a completely flat plane, that one there. So if we go just below, if we start at 500 and we come down to just below 0, then we should hit everything but the bottom of the crevasses, because we don't care about crevasses. I'm not putting a quest in a crevasse. That would be horrendous. Just pop into that dangerous hole there, pick up your quest item. What's going on in the chat? Oh, Plasma, you lost collection for a moment. No problem. You always catch me on the VOD. Vector down times 1000. Thank you, Nosferatu. That's absolutely spot on. Now, we don't need to go as far as 1,000, because we're starting at this arbitrary point here, which is 500 above. So it's vector 5 and a bit more. So we say that and a bit more. I don't like these hard-coded numbers, but this is only a debug. So it's just so that we can see what's going on. Of course, they've disappeared now because they're only on for 5 seconds. Well, that works. That works. That's definitely what I've told it to do. Whee! Isn't that? That's definitely a thing. And it's stretching beyond the limits of the map, which isn't really necessary, but isn't a disaster. Okay. Now, okay. It's quite difficult to see what's going on. I mean, it's sort of beautiful in a way. I mean, it's a little bit 80s retro, especially with my graphics. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, They might be a bit close to. I don't think they need to be. I don't think 20 apart is. That's not really necessary. Let's make it. Oh, 50 is probably a bit large. That would be 4. Probably 30. It's going to be quite sensitive to this parameter, I think. I'm surprised the debug rays haven't disappeared yet. There we go. Right. So again, it's drawing. Okay, so it's drawing 30. So if we come down here, it's doing about. If there's 200 aside, you can get about 6 in a tile. That's about right. Now, this is just for debug purposes. You know, I wouldn't. I mean, it's supposed to be a hellscape. It's pretty. Yeah. Titan Lord of Pizza says, these lines are clearly rain made of blood. Ah, the rain of blood. Great song. So, okay, so now we got some ray. Those ray casts are definitely what we want, but we don't want rays per se. We don't want those sorts of rays. We do want this. We want our location. And let's take this out into a const. Oh, is there a refactoring we can do that? Introduce constant. Oh. And we're going to call it. What do we call it? This is the raycast start in Y. Oh! Let's try again. Control dot to show me what I can do, and it's suggesting introduce a constant, which I agree is a good idea, and then we'll call it raycast start in Y. Lovely. So that's created that, and we want another one here, which we know we'll make this a constant using the same method. Control dot and then raycast end or length. It's a length, isn't it? It's a length, and we're going to make that raycast start in Y. That's 10. Yeah, that's fine. Not massively happy with that, but that's fine. Okay, this thing here, I'm going to extract into a method, and this method is going to be called get ray start or ray start. Ray start, yeah, because it's not the 90s. Ray start. So we've got spacing, we've got X and Z. I don't really like the ordering of that, so I'm going to change it because I'm tricksy like that. So we X and Z, and the spacing is, that should be, let's make that constant, and let's call spacing. Let's just call that spacing. Wee, like that. And not overly happy with constants having lowercase, but I can fix that later. Cool, so those are those constants in there. Number of rays on the side, probably. Introduce constant. Introduce local constant. Local constant? No. Just convert that to a constant. Fine. And we call that number of rays on the side. Goodbye. Right. So we're still not using the center at the moment, which is fine. We can come back to that but once we've got the ray start. Lovely. So that's now we're gonna reuse that in a second. So I'm gonna kill off the draw ray, and we're gonna have a ray cast hit. Now this will only be, now generally speaking, when you're doing this, if you're having to do this quickly in a game, you should make all of your rays outside of the main game loop on startup. If you know you're going to need 5,000, 10,000, just make all those objects because you can reuse them. So in Unity, Unity is using a managed language, so you want to get the memory assigned as early as you can. But because this is a button on the GUI, I'm just going to do it in line, which is not brilliant. So this will actually be the ray that's going in the dictionary, but we're going to come back to the dictionary in a moment. I also don't like this vector 3 in the dictionary. That's not a good idea. Okay, probably going to use these integers instead, which means we're going to use my coordinate, which is nice. So what's going on in the chat? Ah, here we go. Some more famous faces. Nathan, hello, good to see you. Andrew, Finally managed to get you on your stream, Rob. Hope you're having a lovely evening. It's going all right. I've not got very far, but it's all right. It's going fine. You know, I've put a vector 3 as the key into a dictionary, which is a terrible idea, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Sorry about don't mention the war. Oh my goodness, well, I have a few German friends who mention it more than I do. Game of I never knew you could do that. That's handy. Remember that. Yep, control dot. It's fantastic. It tells you all sorts of things you might not otherwise know. How can the ray help with the problem? Okay, that's a good question. So what we're going to do is we're going to put lots of rays down to try and find a flat point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those rays as a grid to use the A-star algorithm to go from wherever it started to the end, rather than using this grid. And the reason that I need to do that is that, take these two cases here. If I had a pathfinding algorithm, I don't want it to go off this cliff. I want it to turn round and go back down that ramp and go this way. But there's no easy way for me to say that this side of the ramp is at the ground level and this side of the ramp is on a hill. So the reason I'm doing the rays is because the change in the ray will be a little bit down, little bit down, little bit down, little bit down, like that. That's quite easy for the Pathfinder algorithm to use. And off this side, it'll be the ray will be at 150, which is how high this is, 150, 150, 150, 0. So the Pathfinder will then know going from 150 to 0 is too much of a jump, and you don't want to do that. So that's why I'm using all of these rays. I hope any of that has made sense. I'm half tempted to break out the graphics tablet and draw it. I'm pretty sure this is a good way of doing it. Anyway, we're going to roll on. So we're going to have a new ray. Right, okay, before we do that, this is a terrible idea. The reason it's a terrible idea is that a dictionary needs to have something hashable as its key. So this is the key, and this is the thing that's being stored. And of course, a vector 3 is full of floats, and floats are not accurate. They are a terrible data type. So the old classic, what is, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. If I bring up the JavaScript console, and this is probably a bit small. There we go. And if I do this, you would have seen this. Oh, 0.300000000000004, and that is not JavaScript being rubbish. That is just floating point mathematics. Horrible, isn't it? So that's why you shouldn't use vectors. So I have this thing called a coordinate 2D, which is a very simple struct. It's my very own. We'll make that in there. And let's go and have a quick look at it. It's just an X and Z integer, and I use this a lot. And I have lots of fascinating methods in here for dealing with them. Look at all of these overrides. Oh, how's about a language override, everybody? How's that? Oh. So I have a lot of those. It's all unit tested up the wazoo. That's the wrong file. This is the right one. So that's what we're going to use to store in. And because we've got X and Z there, that's not so bad. So we can go var coordinate, and I can do a tuple. Oh, look at this. Look at that. A tuple. It's bonkers. And I can even go coordinate 2D, and it's a tuple. It figures it out. Oh, look, uppercase C. It'll figure it out. What's going on in the chat? Don't forget to change your ray start to call XYZ spacing. Good shout. Good shout. We'll just bang that in there. I don't think we're going to use this debug ray for much longer, but that's good. Thank you very much. We'll get that done. Right, you're telling us to do things in a manner that's better for performance. That's evil. Yes, Titan. Yes. Yeah, I'd do that. I mean, these performance things are not just for Unity. They work in enterprise level as well. Handle on dev. Greetings to you. Hello. I hope you're having a good day. I've got to head off, spend some time with a girlfriend, but I'll be lurking. Oh, thanks, Andrew. You make one of the finest lurkers. It's a very high quality of lurk. What's the desired release date? That's a great question, Handle Dev. What would be the desired release date? before I get much older. I don't know. It depends. The problem is with release dates is that my time is not my own. I have a full-time job. I've got a wife, 2 kids, lots of family, and I get to do this stuff when all that other stuff's taken care of. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to give any promises. And I'm sorry about that. But what I hope to do is get a demo which is playable by humans and not just the evil people that I call friends. So that's as far as I can go with the release date. So Game Boy makes perfect sense. I'm glad. Great. Okay, so let's get some coordinates in here. So our coordinate is XZ. Lovely. So we can create in our rays. We can have rays, and we can go coordinate form. And this is going to be a new ray. It's a new ray. Now a ray has an origin and a direction. But unlike the raycast, the debug we did a minute ago, it will keep going until it hits something. So we want raycast start, ray start. Ooh, ray start. That's interesting. Why do I call it that? Never mind. X. Oh, now the X and Z. That's fine. Or we can do an improvement here. Oh, I love an improvement, and the direction will be vector 3 down. Cool. So that's where the ray will be. Now, ideally, this piece of code, because it's a loop and it's creating a bunch of rays, it should be done not in the game loop, or break it into bits if possible, and not to reproduce it. But those are all like performance things I'll do later. I'll get it working first. Always measure, see what the effect is, and then come back to it. I know the effect is not going to be great because it's the same as for the map, pretty much. Okay, so the rays are pointing down, they're coming down from the sky, and we haven't actually cast anything yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a ray cast. And this is the thing I can't remember how to do. Is it raycast? Raycast hit, is it? Raycast? Nope. I'm going to have to look up some other code in a moment. Let's do that. It's map region is the bit of code that I know exists in. This is how the map, you see the little hexes move up and down. That's what these are. That's where we're going here. So I know that I'm doing a ray here. So that sets up the ray location, which is very nice. And then it must be doing a hit in here somewhere. There we go. Physics ray cut. Of course it is. And yoink, I'm not so proud. Right, so we have a ray, but really we want to pass in the ray that's sitting in the dictionary. We're going to need to have some kind of out ray cast. Oh yeah, of course it won't create that for me. Ray cast hit, and that's the hit. Thank you. Oh, length. Oh, that's good. So we're going to need a length for this ray cast. It's not going to continue going down as far as I want it to, but that's okay. Oh, hang on a minute. Does it need that? Oh, and it wants a layer mask. That's fine. We'll just let it hit everything for the moment. Super. So we're going to hit things. So this will fire loads of rays down from space and hit our stuff. And if it hits, we're going to draw a ray. And we're going to draw a ray, which is we can now take this ray here. We're going to draw the ray. We're going to draw it down in the same way, probably. Why is that complaining? That's a ray. Draw me a ray. Oh, here we go. Is this because draw ray won't actually let me draw a ray? Oh, that's nice. Thank you. So the phrase draw ray, this is just Unity. Come on, man. You're better than this. Okay, so we can't just pass in a ray into raycast hit. We need to have origin and dear oh dear. I could write an extension method. I'm not going to. There's not enough time in the world, and we had a raycast length. Yeah, raycast length. Raycast length. And colour. Now, because this has hit something, we're going to go green. I'm sorry for red-green colourblind people. I feel for you, but this is only for fun when this is not what it's going to look like in the game. And if it hits, it does one thing. If it doesn't do it, it hits the other thing. All right, okay. This is ugly. Don't do that, Rob. Fine. Okay, we'll stick a colour in. It's fine. Ray colour. I'm sorry also. Look, I can't spell colour in my own language anymore. Ah, dear. The ray colour is going to be green. And if it's green, if it hits, and if it doesn't hit, it's going to be red. And then let's pull these out, because it's always going to draw something, and then we'll just call that the ray colour. Now there's a part of me that wants to turn this into a ternary. I'm not going to do that. Why is that? Why is that complaining? Well, that should be right. Ah, I see. Okay, fair enough. Now it's complaining at the moment because that this is pointless in a sense. That should just be red by default. And I missed an else. Don't let that worry you. I don't know why it still allows us to do blocks. Seems weird. And we can kill that line off because I don't need that one. So now what we have is a whole bunch of rays coming down from the sky, and the ones that are going to hit things are going to go one colour. If they're green, if they hit something, and red if they don't, or it will just break, or it will do nothing. Oh, it's done stuff. Oh, look at that. That's so beautiful. Oh, look at it without my glasses on. Wow. God. It's hello Skeffles. It seems to be going okay. Gaming Bud. Yes, you may ask. I am a lead enterprise web developer. I build software for hospitals and patients to communicate with each other. All right. So yeah, it's that's wee. So this is so it is working, but I'm a bit concerned that the rays are going a bit too far, because we don't want them coming all the way down and touching. Oh, they're not going too far. Are they going too far? Yeah. But it seems to think it's hit something, even though it's in a crevasse. You haven't anything in the crevasse. Look, hasn't it? It's green, which suggests it's hit something, but it's in the crevasse, which means it hasn't hit anything. That's crazy. Okay. That's odd. Maybe we'll choose a more useful colour. Okay, so a colour may tell us length. So what have we got inside this hit variable? Distance. Lovely. Float. Okay. So what we can do is we can make a colour. New colour. This is also probably not particularly good. So it's RGB and float. Lovely. So we shall make it. So it's a new colour. So the first one on. Should make them go from sort of black to white. If they hit something, so they'll be red otherwise, but then they'll go black to white depending on how long they are. I'm not sure that's going to be useful to us. Okay, so greed, the colour of greed. Green, in a sense, is the colour of greed. It's only just occurred to me, but there we go. Right. I hope the music isn't too loud. It's not driven anyone mad just yet. There's been no babbling in the chat about it, so it can't be too evil. Okay, so now we've got a grid of things being hit. And we've got a whole bunch of raycasts. What we really have is a whole bunch of distances that we're interested in, and a whole bunch of nodes. So this ray is not going to be enough just yet. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to move across this coordinate system, and I want to be able to know what height things are. So rather than store the ray, I feel a struct coming on. Does anyone else feel a struct coming on? I feel a private struct coming on. Oh yes. Let's have this as a I don't want to call it node because everything gets called node. It's a point in the world. Point in the that's a terrible name for a thing. It's a kind of an attempt. It's a possible location. Let's call it that. Still not convinced that's a good name. That's a terrible name, but it's not too bad. Now we're not going to store the ray in there. Probably not. What we want to store is a distance, and that's a float. And we don't need to store the coordinates because we have that. So we have the float. So we'll call it a distance. Lovely. So we're going to store our possible location in this list, and we're not going to call it rays either. We're going to call it locations, which I overuse a lot in Clomper, so I'm probably going to have to sort that out. And we're just going to make a new ray here, and we're not going to pass those in. And that's all right. That's just the ray origin, and this is the ray direction. That's fine. That's all worked out nicely. Okay, so what we want to say is this is going to be, if it hits, then it's a location. Don't put it in there if it's not a location. So we're going to go locations, and we have our coordinate, so we already have that, and we're going to make that a new possible location. And I don't like this way of doing things. Let's have a look at the chat, see what's going on here. Cyber Habanero, good programming styles, thank you. It seems somewhat haphazard. I'm better than this at work because I have to be. Wait, there is music. Is there not music for you? I can't hear the music either. It's really quiet. Well, let's wang it up a bit, and let's see if anyone starts complaining. It's chill hop, whatever that is. I can't play my preferred music because many of you would leave in disgust, I should think. Acceptable coordinate? Acceptable, because it might be acceptable, Gaming Bud. That's a good point. It might be acceptable, but it might not be. I'm just gonna look behind the curtain for a second and see if that is desktop audio is coming up. I've just looked at the point at which, yeah, it seems to be there. It's just quiet. Okay, let's plow on. Okay, so we've got all these locations. I'm not going to have all of this draw ray craziness in a minute. It's a bit of a bang out there. I think it's a 5-year-old trying to gain access to a cookie cupboard. So this new possible location, we have a distance. The distance. Why is not? Oh, I've made it private. Look at that. Naughty. So the distance is going to be the hit distance. Almost. Because that's the distance from the top of where the ray begins down to where it stops. So that's okay. So that tells us the distance, but that's not going to be very easy to visualize. But we'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these drawing rays for the moment because I don't think that's very useful. But what we will do, so we can get rid of the ray color there, and we can burn out the ray color there. So another programming tip for you: when you're doing something like this struct here, I've done this sort of method body style of this style of telling us how to put it together. Now we only have, so let me start again. Words. So by doing it this way, I'm not telling the programmer what they need to fill in here. Sure, I can do a control space and it will fill it in for me, but if I've got lots of parameters in here, so if I stick another one in and I do control space, it will show me what's there. So I'm getting this little tooltip distance and thing, but really it's not forcing me. If I only put in 1, so if I put in distance equals 1, that's perfectly valid. What was doing that? So if I put that in there, What have I mismatched brackets now? There we go. That's perfectly valid. So the fact I haven't put a value on the thing is it doesn't care. So the way you get around that, you want to be able to try and tell the programmer how to use something. So, and that means by doing something like this. So we're going to do float distance, and then we're going to go this dot distance is distance. I don't use method body parameters. I don't use underscores and stuff. That's not for me. Now this bit down here, it then tells me that there are two possible ways of creating this. See, I've got one of two. So now I can either say, all right, yeah, but the second one, the greedy one, is telling you what you should put in there. So it's telling you as a programmer that really you should be, the possible location needs to have a distance. If it doesn't, it's meaningless. So that's what we're going to stick in. So let's now give it, so the hit has got the distance in it. And that will do all right for now, but I'm not convinced that that's right. I think it needs to be a height rather than a distance. So a distance is from where the ray starts down to wherever it hits, but a height is from 0 up to the top. So we actually want to do, so wherever the height of the ray starting, we want to do the height will be the ray starting height minus the distance. So that makes sense in my head. So, and we have that as ray starting y. There we go. So that is now the height above 0. Let's just check that in our heads. So if the height was 100, then it starts at 500. Does it start at 500? Yes, starts at 500. The height of the building is 100, so it comes down. So the length would be 400, but the height is actually 100. So to get to 100, you take 500 minus 400, which is the distance, and that will give you the height in y. Fantastic. Okay, so we need to make sure that we've done this right. So far, there's nothing here that's visualized. This is all completely hidden. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop the dictionary. And it's location in locations. Before I do that, let's just check the chat. Speaking variables. Yeah, quite right. God, I'm in for an hour and 8. How are we doing for time? 21:37 is the local time. I'll keep going for a little bit longer. So we want to go through each of the locations and we want to draw something on the screen, just a little debug thing to make sure we got them. And I think little spheres is the way to go. So a location has a key and a value, and the key is the coordinate in X and Z, but that is not, but that's not quite right, because it's actually spacing is what we want. So the key, so our position of the thing that we're going to draw, we're going to draw a little sphere. We need to draw it at a position. So it will be the keys, it'll be a new vector 3. And it will be the location's key X times spacing, probably. And then Y will be the location, and then we want the height, so that's the value, or a distance. There we go, because the value is actually this possible location struct that we've introduced, and then the Z is the same thing as the key, Z times its spacing. This won't work. It's really unlikely to work. Debug, and then we're going to draw a little sphere. Oh, I think my daughter is giving my wife what for. Oh well, sphere. Can we do a debug sphere? Oh, draw. Oh, I might be thinking of. Yeah. Draw what? Debug what? You're gonna give me a draw sphere. I just want to draw a debug sphere. That's all I want to do. Okay, no problem. Gizmos is our future. So gizmos are Unity editor things that you can put in, and gizmos are really handy because they can draw all sorts of stuff for you, Gizmos can be things like, if we pop back to Unity Editor, they can be things like this XYZ piece here, this, I don't know, they call that, there's a name for that. That, whatever the name is for that, is XYZ. That's a gizmo. Also, you can see the white lines around the edges of the meshes here. That's also a gizmo. It's a gizmo mesh edge that I created to help me visualize the tiles. It's not the actual mesh itself, which is a top tip. You can make your own gizmos to help you visualize stuff. So I need a new gizmo, and we'll probably call it an end at the end of the day here. So I think it's avoid on draw gizmos. Look at that, on draw gizmos. So this is a method that's magic. It will be called by the Unity editor. You can tell it's a magic message because it says Unity message there. So it's just magic. I can hear my daughter kicking off downstairs now. Bless her. So when it comes to drawing the gizmos, we're going to go through each of our locations, and we're now going to draw a debug sphere, which I can't remember how to do. Do I have to look this up? Or is it gizmos? Gizmos.draw. Here we go. Draw sphere. Oh, draw sphere? Let's draw sphere. And let's put the center at location or position. Nearly got me. We'll make it small. The radius, if the radius is 5, that'll make a diameter 10. They're spaced apart by 30. That should be alright. Right, this probably won't work. This is going to go sideways. So let's just have a bit of a thought here. So locations is a dictionary. The dictionary is newed up there, and then stuff is added to it here. So it will have values after I press the button, but it won't have values to start with. And then when I press the button again, any coordinate values will be overwritten. That's okay because they're X and Z, and they're pretty predictable. Okay, that should work. Fingers crossed. Okay, so if I hit the button, we should see lots of little, hey, look at those little fellas. Oh, my frame rate has died. Oh. Now the editor is working really hard because it does draw gizmos every second. Now they're kind of hard to see, aren't they? But let's make them red. This is nasty as well. I think you have to put color. Is that, yeah. So once you make the gizmos a certain color, then everything that gets drawn after that point is of that color, regardless of what you then draw. So if you have a completely different script which has got gizmos in it, then that will also be of that color. So let's have them black because they will stand out nicely. Now at this point, I think the raycasts have been lost, so we have to tell it to do it again. That dictionary will have been lost. Hello. Oh my goodness. There we go. I don't think that's necessarily easier to see. However, what we can see here is that the spheres are being putting on at the right height. So what my Pathfinder algorithm, it'll be a bit easier to see now. If I say I want to put my quest item up here, now go find a path, it's going to go from dot to dot, 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 and then it can go, right, well, I'm trying to get over here. This is where the Clomper is going to be. It's going to trace the dots, and it will come, and it will say, right, this dot to this dot, that's a big drop. You can't go that way. So it will go, no, I'm not going to go that way, and it will pathfind its way down and say, well, this is a little drop, that's fine. The Clomper can survive that and keep going dot, 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 and then make its way pathfind all the way back to here. And of course, these dots are just a dictionary of values. So the joy of a dictionary is that it's quite, once you've made the dictionary, it's low effort to go from this coordinate to this coordinate, because you know that's something like minus 200, minus 200. This one here will be minus 199, minus 200. So you can work out what they are quite easily. And there you go. So this is a kind of a fake grid. It's not a grid like, it's a completely separate grid to the one that the world is being built on, and it'll be purely used for the pathfinding. But it's 9:45, so I'm just going to check the chat. So Stellar Nightmare, hello there. Well, hello there. I can't really do a General Kenobi because he's a Scotsman trying to be an Englishman, so it's not one I can do. You still want to see the ladybug fall into a pit? Well, let's do that. Let's finish off. How do you remember all the things coding terminology? You have to look things up all the time. Oh, only because I'm redoing stuff I've done already. Don't worry, Timortian, if that's how you pronounce your name. I apologise if the pronunciation's awful. It's just that I've done this a lot. So if I'm repeating things that are familiar to me, then you'll see that it comes because it's just repetition. That's all it is. So let us. This code is fine. Right, before we go any further, let's do a tidy up because this code is working. Okay, it works. We've got an extra center in there that we're not using at the moment. That was aspirational. We're not needing the raycast length, which is raycast in Y. So that's the start, and then it goes down. Oh, it's a ray. The ray just casts in a direction. That's why we don't need it. So we don't need the length anymore. So this is all pretty tidy. I don't like the fact the struct is inside here, but it will have to come out because other things are going to need this in the future. But it's fine for now. And then I like all of my on-draw gizmos at the end. That all looks tidy enough. Is there any other things that are a bit weird in here? Coordinate is fine. I'm doing an X start. Oh, ray start. Okay. Here's a thing that's a bit weird. So once I've converted X and Z, which are the two integers that are being set up in these loops, once I've converted them into coordinate, from that point on in this method, I should try and use coordinate. And for the reason for that is, if I wanted to move this out into a separate method, if I move that into a separate method, blah, 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 like that, then I would just I'd be passing in this one coordinate rather than X and Z, because X and Z are just integers, they don't mean anything, whereas a coordinate is a type that means something. X of 10 could be the number of children you have. 10 children. It's a terrible example. X could be anything, but coordinate 2D always means it's coordinate 2D. I don't know where that came from. So this bit here, so this is one of my methods. So if I pass in coordinate there, I need to change this to coordinate. Coordinate. And then I have coordinate X and coordinate Z. And this line now is too long. Don't like this. So we'll come out of this one. And also what I like to do, if it starts getting a bit fat, it's much easier to read. It's obvious that those X and Z are built in the same way. That's important because I want to be able to see they're built in the same way. Is there anything else that's a bit weird? This is another thing that's a bit weird. Spacing is a constant, and yet we're passing it in. If you're keen on functional programming, then this is perfectly reasonable. Also, if I was going to unit test this ray start method, which I probably won't, because the reason it's not very good for unit testing is because all it's doing is converting from one type to another with a multiplication. It's not really doing very much. So, but if you were interested in functional programming, then this is good because this whole method has everything inside it that it needs. If I were to take this out, this function would still work, but this function now is relying upon spacing, which is a constant, which I think is okay here. So I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to move this static method out to any other class. So it's fine for it to sit inside here. It belongs. This is now coupling. So when people talk about coupling, I'm increasing the coupling to reduce the amount of load on the programmer, in this case me. Let's have a look at the chat. My webcam frame is the pipes. Thank you, Nathan. You know, it took me quite a long time to do that. Quite a considerable amount of time. But yes, they're pipes, my little frame. Okay, so one question. How did you connect quest location finder execute method to the editor button. Is that a custom editing mode? It is a custom editor. Okay, so I have this Clomper debug editor here. You make a editor window using the extension editor window, which is a Unity class. So I've got my own little class there. I've put it in my own extensions. You need to make sure that it's also inside a folder called editor inside your assets. These are things that Unity requires you to do. And then you have this onGUI method, which is where all the work is done. And I'm doing some extra bits here. You can start putting your buttons down in there. And the button, I could just put a button in here if I wanted to, but I've moved them out into methods to make my life a bit easier because it does quite a lot of work, this. So, and my button is, oh, I've opened up the wrong method there. So the button is quest location finder, and you see there it goes find. So you could just put that in onGUI. So you could put it up in here. But I've got these extra methods in here to try and tease out my code a little bit. But that's it, because it's the turnaround is fast. I don't have to start up the game. I don't have to lay any pipes. I don't have to get anything working. So that's quite important. So right, so this quest finder is completely new. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can increase the size of this so you can see what I'm doing. No, not like that. No, no. Okay, what about my terminal window? Can I do it in there? Is this easily done? There we go, that's more easily done. Let's come into... Okay, so what I'm going to do now is you can do this using GitHub, the window, I can tell I'm tired, using the GitHub for Windows editor, and I do recommend you do that, but I'm old and weird, so I like doing it this way. So what I'm going to look at now is committing my files to source code control, because you all use source control, don't you? You all use source control, don't you? Good, of course you do. Of course you do, because it's free and it keeps your code nice and safe. But there are other benefits, and I'll come back to that in a moment. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I've added all the files. I said these are all files that go into this commit. Search settings is an editor irritation, as is editor user settings. That's like, you always end up committing those. Then I've got this environment builder, which is the me putting the script we've just written this evening onto there. That's adding the button in, and here is the new file. And Unity always adds a meta, which has got loads of file linking information in there. So that's all good. So I want to commit this first of all, just on my local machine, and I want to give it a message which is descriptive. And this is, if I said creating the quest location finder, that would be obvious. So this is actually the first step in ensuring quest locations are valid. That's probably good enough. Now, that would be fine. That would be fine. But I like to link my tickets through to my Kanban board. This is my Kanban board. I'm using GitHub projects. Again, it's free. Don't have to have any of this. Lovely. I'll just check the what I'm going to be. Okay, I have a playtest to get to. Oh, Kumakami, thank you so much. Oh, Fog's going to get published. Oh, I'm delighted for you, mate. That's fantastic. Gaspard, welcome. You're just coming at the end of the screen, and you use source control, because of course you do, because you all do, don't you? Fantastic. So I've got this task here. It's very, very simple. Ensure quest location is achievable, and it's number 458. So what I can do now is I can come in here and I'm going to say for #458. And then when I push this up to GitHub, it will link these things together. So as simple as that. It's going to throw a load of text onto my screen, and then I'll push it up, pushing it up into the cloud. It's going to tell me that it's going to upload using my rubbish internet connection. Git push, fantastic. And then if I just CLS that and I say, let's have a quick status, it should say everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's up to date. You are clean. You've got nothing else to commit. So let's look at this in here. If we come and open this up, you can see that I've added a commit to reference this issue in 15 seconds. First step in ensuring quest locations are valid. So when I come to look at this task in the future, I can see all the commits that were tagged with it, which some of them can get quite large, but that's only half useful. That there is something that's more useful than that, and that is a git blame. So let's see, let's take my quest finder location, and this is, I'm missing Alt Shift L. I don't know why that won't open it up. That's funny to me. Okay, so it's inside quests anyway. So it's questing and it's quest location finder. So using git, I can say view history or blame, but we're going to go into the history, and it will show me all the history of all of this. This tells me why things changed, and it gives me the ticket number, the reason it changed. So they're all kind of linked together. Just because I wrote some characters on the end there, just because I keep organized, it keeps me able to keep going with these things. So that's that bit. And the last bit I like to do is I like to leave a comment about where I get to and what's next. So we've got the phantom grid done. That was all the little black spots. And the next thing to do is trace a path back to the origin using A star. Cool. So next time I come back to this, I know what's next to do because it's the card that's here, and then I can go and look at this card and I can go, right, what's next to do? It's there. This is part of keeping motivated. It's just only takes a minute. It's a lot faster if I'm not explaining this, obviously. Only takes a minute. It's only for my benefit. But if I come and sit down again on Monday night and I'm tired, it's been a long day at work and the kids have been climbing up my beard, and I want previous me of the past, to tell me what to do. Okay, I don't want to have to think. I just want to get started. I want to get going, and that's exactly what I've done. So let's bounce off this screen for the moment, because everyone likes to see a crash. So thank you very much for sticking with me this evening. Let's jump in here. Let's maximize on play. And let's see if we can get the thing to crash. Now, before we go any further, that has maximized on play, which is exactly what I told it to do, but actually I want to see the actually I don't want to do that for the moment. I want to make sure that damage is on. Proxy damage is on. It should be on. Right, lovely. We want to make sure we actually, I normally leave damage off when I'm testing because, oh, it's not maximized. I can use computers, honest. Let's start it up again. There we go. Now this is there are no menus in the game. Yeah, I've not done that. So from that perspective, it's very prototyping. Now here we are inside the game. Now I could just start putting pipes down, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cheat. Ping! See how quick I can play my game. It's clever, isn't it? Now, all the boilers are currently running at 8 pressure, and 8 pressure means that they're going to go bang if I don't move. Let's go and have a look at the map. There's a hole. That's a fantastic hole. Let's drive ourselves towards this hole, and let's go and have a quick look at it. Now we're chunking along at the moment. Oh yeah, I've got to work out. I messed with the speed the other day, so I need to readjust that. Let's pop out the periscope. You can see there's now fog, although that doesn't look like it's working at the moment. Nice, I've broken fog again. So this is the hole that we're going to run into. This great big crevasse here. We're going to run into. We're going to run into that. Let's just line ourselves up nicely on that. Or actually, were we lined up already? I've lost myself. There we go. Back under the periscope. What are we pointing at? We're sort of pointing at it, but we can do better than that. If we turn to the side a bit more, and let's clomp like mad over. Let's go. Let's give it just a bit of a turn. Well, that's probably turning the wrong way. Let's turn northeast. Coming round to northeast now. Lovely. And let's go full speed. And let's just drive off the edge. Why are we not moving? Why aren't we? We're not moving. There's no legs moving. The legs aren't moving. I have play. Oh yeah, because I've turned it off. Yeah, there they go. Legs are all moving, chonking away. In we go. and we're about to drive off the edge. The fog's not working. That's really upsetting. I wonder what I broke with that. Oh, this is not wise. If we come out here, we should see everything go a bit sideways in a moment as it breaks and all the pipes go bonkers. Here we go. Way! Oh yeah, we bounced twice, did we? I think we bounced off the bottom, so we got a double hit. Lucky us. So thank you. All the little fire sprites are bouncing around. Oh, bless them. Hello, guys. What a mess. I mean, if you were playing the game, you'd have to clear all this up because you can't see anything. And look, the boilers are completely broken. Oh, this one over here is probably going to go bang now. Oh, it's because it crashed. It set it back. Let's make that one go bang. It's not very warm. Whee! Hello, mate. Don't worry. Your friends will be free in a minute. Yeah, they're all coming out. So I'm going to bring an end to this stream now, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's been lovely having you all on. I see Saul's coming. Well done. Just coming to an end, mate, but it's lovely to have you here. I've managed to make some great progress this evening. Thank you all for your help. Spotting things, me doing things wrong, that's always great. And I hope you also learned some stuff too. Maybe little bits and pieces. I know it's quite weird watching someone else code their game. It's quite weird. How would you get out of a hole? You get reset at the moment, or it's game over. That depends on how you what your game options are when you start your game. But at the moment, it just resets it to the side of somewhere safe, somewhere nearby. It's not open source, I'm afraid, Cyber Habanero. So it's not yet. Maybe in the future I'll open source it, but not at the moment. It's a private repository. You can have your own private ones. And I think we're going to go bang, and then I'll say goodnight to you all. But you were here before the end, Saul. That's well. I'm glad. Hey, there goes the first one. I've got the audio muted at the moment, and the second one. And with that, thank you very much. Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.